Merry Christmas, Scrooge.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you. We have a wonderful film today, and I want to
Yes.
thank you for making this possible
You're welcome.
by watching it on demand tonight, because we tried to look for it, 2 weeks ago or a couple weeks ago? We tried to look for it, I remember, on Hulu, and we couldn't find it. But today,
Yeah.
we were able to watch it.
Uh-huh.
Oh, wait, you're not Scrooge. Actually, this is Arnold on the podcast.
Yes.
now.
Hello. Thank you for letting me be here. I really appreciate it.
Well, ironically enough, we were able to watch one of your films tonight, Arnold.
Yes. And how'd you like it? What'd you think?
You know, I haven't seen this film since I was a kid, and I had a lot of fun.
I'm glad. I'm very glad.
This actually completely eliminates the title of this podcast. Really, we say real bad movies. This wasn't a really bad movie.
Right. So you should be thanking me for making your show a lot better than it is.
Oh, definitely. But Arnold, I know you got to catch this flight. You got to go back.
Yes. I have to go back to Austria.
Yeah, there's a hot tub waiting somewhere with a cigar
my
next
stogie.
to it. Yes.
My good stogie. So thank you both. Listen to that Scrooge boy. He definitely knows what he's talking about. I saw he's got the pump.
Ooh.
He's always talking about not having a shirt on, and I really like that man.
All right.
So listen to him.
I'll talk to him, and we'll figure it out. But it was good chatting with you.
All right. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Scrooge, what's up?
Yo, my man.
Yo, dude, Arnold was
Yeah, I'll
just
see you later,
here.
Arnold. Yeah.
Literally, you walked out the door, or you walked in the door, and he walked out the door. Like, wow.
It's okay. I as long as I'm in the room of which Arnold graced with his essence, I would actually buy a bottle of his sweat if I could.
Really?
Absolutely.
You're acting like you don't have a bottle of his sweat.
No, not
in
at
your
all.
bedroom
I
somewhere.
definitely don't have
Yeah.
a bottle of sweat.
Oh, Jesus.
Wow.
What did you do over there?
It's crazy.
What did you do?
It's all fine. It's okay.
It's all fine?
It's all fine. Here,
Wow.
feel it.
Yeah, you're all fine.
Yeah. See?
All right. Anyways, what the hell are we talking about today?
Jingle All The Way.
And this film came out in 1996, and I guess technically it's a bad movie, but let's get into it. I'm AC,
I'm Scrooge.
and I'm yelling also. These are real.
Bad movies.
is Jingle All The Way,
Yes, sir.
starring Arnold Schwarzenegger.
The Arnold
Say his last name, because I think I say it wrong all the time.
Schwarzenegger.
Schwarzenegger.
Yes.
Okay. And Sinbad. Can you say Sinbad's name too?
I've been bad sin.
Badson? Okay.
Badson.
And we also get Phil Hartman in this movie as
Yes,
well.
sir.
Some other people. Martin Mull is in this. Who is it? The Big Show was one of them.
We got Big Show as one of the mall Santas.
Nice.
We have
Jim-
Jake Lloyd, who
Jake
is-
Lloyd, yes. Can't
who
forget
is
him.
Anakin in Phantom Menace, Anakin Skywalker, Phantom Menace.
Young Anakin
Yeah.
Skywalker, correct? Or is he
Yes.
the only Anakin in that movie? He's just young in that movie,
Yeah.
correct?
So for the Star Wars nerds, it would be he's just Anakin in Phantom Menace as a kid. For anyone who doesn't know Star Wars, he was a young Anakin Skywalker in
Yes.
in Episode 1, Phantom Menace.
And then Hayden Christensen took over, right, in the
Yes.
next two. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So we got them. We also have Martin Mull, which I told you. The only thing I know him from was Clue. And I believe he was in a couple other films as well. I believe he was in Roseanne, I think.
I never got into Roseanne.
Yeah, that's one of those shows that, like, you really watch when you're coming down from a high or something like that. You really need some, you need some comfort. You
For
need some
me, it was
cushion.
the only time I caught that was when I was flipping through channels in the middle of the night trying to find something to go to sleep to.
That's exactly
And
what.
that'd be the perfect thing to just put me right to bed.
That's exactly what I would call like a sober come down. It's like you just want to fucking get to bed and you just throw something on. It makes sense. So we got them. We got some other people in this film as well. I guess the one officer was Robert Conrad.
Yep, Robert Conrad. He was a big name, a lot of television roles from the 70s. He was always this fitness hunk, or he's a good-looking dude. So
I mean,
in
his skin looks great for his age.
yeah. So he was in like episodes of Columbo as like the killer in a couple.
Nice.
And then when other TV shows he was a part of. So he was like a kind of like a 70s heartthrob. He was a little older at that time, so he was like in his late 40s, 50s, but he looked really good. So, but yeah,
he
was
looks good in this movie though. Honestly.
What was one of his
Good-looking
last
dude.
last film roles? I think before he retired and then passed away eventually.
So the last one was about 5 years after this, 6
Okay,
years.
yeah.
So Dead Above Ground was his last one, which
Yikes.
I've never heard about that. But there is a cover of a dude with a Grim Reaper scythe. We might have to watch that.
Wow. Dead Above Ground.
Yeah, look at this cover right here. Take a look, and for folks at home, just look it up. Dead Above Ground.
Oh my god, that looks like it's not even like good bargain bin material. It looks like
No.
a child actually drew it for the cover. That's fine though.
Okay, we might have to find that film. I'm very interested in that. But no, we're talking about Jingle All the Way today, and we had a couple picks, which we'll be doing the next one, mystery movie, which we won't let anyone know, but we're doing a Christmas-related horror film next week. I believe we already talked about it on the podcast, but
Yes, sir. But we'll just leave it.
for people who like are looking at our like filmography and like what we've done and whatever, and then they're like, "Holy crap, Jingle All the Way!" They're just listening to this for Jingle All the Way. They won't know what the next episode will be.
That's right.
Well, actually, they might because it'll be out by then. But
Right, and it's definitely
I should
not,
probably just stop talking.
Yeah,
but
it's definitely not Barney's Next Christmas. That's definitely not the one we're doing.
You know what we should do though? There is an Easter movie I remember. I don't know if you've seen it. It's a Barney Easter movie about an egg.
Oh god. Yes. No.
Do you
yes,
remember that?
Yes,
Yes.
I'm pretty sure I have it on. No, maybe not DVD, but I have the VHS.
Okay, we're watching that
Because that was
Easter.
one that had like the dude had like a grill in his car.
Yep.
And he was making the hamburger in his car. Do you remember the one I'm
Of
talking
course,
about?
that's what you
And made
remember.
Yeah, because he was making milkshakes and it wasn't like
I
it
think I
wasn't like a
remember,
truck
yeah.
either. It was literally like a normal car. And on the dashboard, he was grilling burgers and he was making milkshakes and stuff. So that was my biggest memory of that.
I don't remember. I only remember those like colored eggs, and then he was in a hot air balloon at one part.
Yep, that's another part I remember.
We're gonna have to go to that. But this film, very similar to Barney, as you said as well, you loved this film as a kid, correct?
Yeah, this is a childhood favorite here. So we're talking about like the quintessential. In my case, it's Christmas movie, childhood movie, but like this is a must see when we hit the holiday season. So I've already watched this twice.
Definitely is. And you're an Arnold fan, of course.
Of course, absolutely.
So obviously you would be into this film, 100%.
Well, that was one like so. I mean, I don't remember the first time I saw it. That's one thing I couldn't tell you. It's just like one of those things where you have memories of seeing it, but you don't remember the first time you ever saw it.
I don't think I could remember the first time of any movie that I've seen when I was younger. Because when you're younger, all those movies, they just blend in. And if you have the tape, you can replay it 24/7.
Yeah,
correct?
so most likely I would say probably how I got exposed to it was obviously my parents, but it was either on TV in a rerun or we got the VHS.
Yeah.
Either rented it or whatever, and then I just, fell in love with it from there. Because obviously at the time I wasn't more so about Arnold, it was more about Turbo Man. Which is the whole point of the film is the
fake action figure that was
Superhero.
trying in the beginning.
Yes.
So, I mean, we'll get to the beginning in a sec, but like the beginning is, like we said, it's just copying Power Rangers, correct?
Yes.
Like that's the whole
Well,
ordeal.
Power Rangers are just like the superhero, like what do you ever want to call it? The superhero formula in general.
Yes.
The Saturday morning superhero formula in general there. And so perfectly, the movie did exactly what it was supposed to, which is getting kids interested. So for me, as a kid, it was most likely because, like I said, the whole toy angle.
Turbo Man.
And then for me, even more why it was more like personal was because I always loved buying toys ever since I was younger.
You still have a bunch.
As you can
here?
tell.
Yeah.
And so one of my favorite parts of doing that was the hunt. Was literally whether it was McDonald's, Burger King, or an actual toy store, I had to have everything. Asked my parents, I had to have everything of a toy line.
Toys R Us, those days.
I had to be at KB
those
Toy
days.
Store. I had to be hitting every store to try to find the entire lineup of something. Or if I couldn't find it, I'd be going to every store. So that was another reason. Wow. This man just looked at me and he just insulted me.
You got all your hoes texting you throughout
Yeah,
this whole
because
thing.
they are just dripping wet with excitement over this Jingle All the Way podcast. They can hear it right now. They don't understand. You should be thankful for this. Huh?
So what were you saying? Go ahead.
That's another reason why it became such a close movie to me is because as a kid and still as an adult, I loved the hunt. I loved the of going looking for collectibles, toys, and in this case, that is a big, backbone of the entire movie is making fun. Like it's part actually, it's like kind of people miss out on the satire part of this movie, but it is supposed to be a satire of the holiday greedy spirit of people, trampling over each other to get a toy. because what this really was that they were trying to capture, and it even confirms that in the trivia, they were trying to capture the Cabbage Patch craze of the 1980s.
Or Tickle Me Elmo. Tickle Me Elmo was huge.
But so as the movie was being made, it was Cabbage Patch Kids. But then it perfectly mirrored the same year of the Tickle Me Elmo that came out in 96. So the craze of everybody having to get it. So that's why it really connected me on a personal level, because of, the toy. Had to get the toy.
Yep.
And sure enough, I got that toy because I wanted that toy, and my dad, being the awesome man that he was, he worked it out with some awesome people at a toy company in California.
Toy cartels, as you called them earlier.
That's right. He worked out a solid deal, and I got myself a Turbo Man. Sadly, I don't have it up here. It's down in the basement, but I wish I had it because you could hear it. It lights up. It's got a jetpack. It's got it's got a jetpack.
Wow.
It's got a boomerang. And it talks, too. It does everything.
Well, as we will find out in this movie mimics where you're talking about the toy cartels. When we get introduced to Jim Belushi and his elf friend there, I guess there is sort of a black market of toys.
Well, we'll get into that's actually where I'm going to defend this movie and give it the credit.
Look at you now.
Yeah, because
sides.
Well, in this case, it's because I have a dog in this fight, and there's a reason why. Because most of the time, when you actually talk to people who don't have a nostalgic love for this movie, they don't really like this movie.
Yeah, and I know that because I've heard people trash this movie, and it gets bad reviews. But...
Right. So, but ask usually, I can't speak for everybody, but anybody I've talked to who likes it says it was part of my childhood.
You saw it as a kid, so you liked it.
Not most people that say I just watched it, I don't like it.
Yeah.
Don't think that it had nothing to do with their childhood. So
well,
that's how I feel.
I would give this the benefit of the doubt as well, because this movie plays. There's a couple different films that are like this. Home for the Holidays, if you ever heard of.
I've heard of it.
That was a film very similar. And I can think of the other most popular one is Christmas Vacation. And what they did is so the generic Christmas formula of a movie, I feel like for the past 50 years before this was always just there's trouble, but then things are better in the end. This movie just shows you that Christmas can be a fucking stressful time.
Yeah.
And I think that that whole premise of it being incredibly stressful, especially for parents, has never really been shown in cinema, and this film kind of definitely, because as kids you think the world moves for you and there's no stress, there's no trouble in the holidays, but then you actually see what your parents do to make sure your kid has a good holiday.
Oh yeah, I mean, if you want just a quick shout out to my parents, just want to be thankful for them, because literally as a kid you don't see it. You see it in terms of, I want these toys, this is what I want.
You see them under the tree, and then that's it.
And that's it. And while I was a part of, working with my parents, driving to places, that was part of the fun, was doing it together. It's as you get older, you realize, doing all this is stressful as hell.
It's a lot.
Stressful as hell. And the fact that they did without asking questions, without being like, oh, hey, we deserve more props for this. They just did it. So it's definitely, it's a cool part.
I was out the other day for 4 or 5 hours just shopping for people, and it
fucking
wears you down. Dude.
How do you feel?
I feel exhausted, dude. I'm literally beat. And I still have to go get more stuff tomorrow, and it's Christmas Eve tomorrow.
But it's okay. You know why? Because Big Santa AC coming down the chimney.
I did.
In this house, and he made my nephew very happy.
Oh yeah.
So anyway, he made me very happy, but let's not talk about me because I'm so awesome and amazing. But
yeah, exactly.
You made my nephew very happy, so you should remember about reaping in the benefits of all that hard work.
Well, that's the thing.
Of running out and
it's
getting
a lot of running around, but it makes you feel good. And I had that moment the other night. I was thinking to myself, I'm like, this is what every Christmas movie, the message of every Christmas movie is always it's always better to give than to receive. And holy fuck, this year, that was so true to me.
You felt that?
Yeah. So. Anyways, let's get into it. We have Jingle All The Way, produced by Chris Columbus.
Yes, sir.
Weird, actually, and odd, because he made another Christmas movie, correct?
Yeah, he did, Mr. Chris Columbus. I love how when your name is so tainted that you hear the word Chris Columbus, you immediately think, oh, yikes. But then, oh, yeah, you're not talking about that Chris Columbus, are we?
Oh, you're thinking about, yeah.
Well, that's what makes me laugh, because you say Chris Columbus, and I'm like...
Well, he's Christopher Columbus, correct?
Technically, but also Chris Columbus can be Christopher Columbus as well. So
I guess so.
He could be even calling himself Chris because he doesn't want his name to be tied up. So, but yes, he also what did he do?
He did Home Alone, actually.
Interesting. Is that not your favorite?
My favorite Christmas film?
Yeah.
I would say it is.
Yeah, okay.
That was the movie that I think I watched a little bit more than this as a kid. I absolutely love that film. But Yeah, he directed that, and it was written though by John Hughes, so it's not technically his film. And I don't think maybe he was. I don't know. He has a really spotty. I don't know if you ever looked through his filmography.
No,
Very
actually.
spotty. A really good movie called Adventures in Babysitting. I don't know if you ever seen that.
I saw I'm gonna look up his filmography.
Miss Doubtfire.
Miss
Robin
Doubtfire,
Williams,
great one.
Pretty good,
Great.
right?
You're looking at his filmography?
Yes, I'm looking at what he directed. So, and then Bicentennial Man. I don't know if you've heard of that.
I've heard of it. I've never seen it. I've heard mixed things about it.
It's all right. It's got it's Robin Williams playing like an android that has to develop feelings and stuff like that. Kind of.
Did you like it?
I've only seen parts of it. I haven't seen the whole thing.
He also did the Harry Potter movies produced.
Yes, he did so he directed the first 2 Harry Potters, and then after that they started to switch off directors, kind of like Star Wars and stuff like that. So he was just kind of, I don't know, he's just kind of like floating around. He did Pixels.
My God,
I don't know.
I was
why.
like, why Pixels?
I don't know why. He did Percy Jackson. So I feel
that.
he tried probably to go from like franchise to franchise because that's a good way to make money.
Yeah, maybe he's of the attitude like try to elevate the material as best as you can because there's a lot of stuff like Night at the Museum. Those movies for some reason as a kid hit me hard, like good. I always
Kids
liked those.
Yeah.
But I think if I watched them now,
They're
I wouldn't
pretty
like
bad.
them.
Yeah.
So and then you got Fantastic Four.
Yeah. So he was always in. He did a
Christmas
lot
with
of
the Cranks. There
yes,
you go. So
yep.
we still keep him.
That's
with the...
very similar to Home for the Holidays. Very similar. I think that has Jamie Lee Curtis in it, if I remember. But he's always been around family-friendly films, and look, it's Christmas related, so produced by him as well as a couple other producers, and so this film in general, we both would say it's pretty positive, right? It's pretty positive for us because the director made the Flintstones. Have you seen the Flintstones '90s?
Yeah, I mean
90s one.
You mean the movie with John Goodman and Rosie O'Donnell and stuff? Yeah.
Yep. And he also made a couple of her crap ones. He made, so he made the second. Have you seen? That's the one I remember the most was the Flintstones and Viva Rock Vegas.
Oh my God!
Do you remember that one? And then he did. God, these are all films I watched as a kid. Snow Dogs.
I remember.
Do you remember that?
That's Cuba Gooding Jr. Yep.
And then the next year, or a couple years later, he did Are We There Yet?
Yeah, see, that's all like childhood material where I remember watching it as a kid, getting enjoyment out of it. But now I don't think I'd ever want to try to revisit a couple of those.
I honestly I'd probably stay away as far as possible. So a guy named Mark Radcliffe had produced this film, and Chris Columbus produced this film. So I thought Harry Potter, Daniel Radcliffe, is this related? But I looked it up, and apparently there's no relation. Yet he produced both Jingle All the Way and a majority of the Harry Potter films. That's very weird.
Yeah,
and
it's
very
a really
odd.
weird body of work, but hey, who are we to judge?
Why not? Exactly. So back to this film. Let's begin. The intro, you get thrown right into the action, correct?
Well, so I mean, really, anybody who hasn't seen Home Alone, if you want, it's about a workaholic father played by Arnold Schwarzenegger, Howard Langston.
You just said Home Alone.
Did I really say that?
Yeah, you said if we haven't seen Home Alone.
Oh, yeah, because we just mentioned that. Sorry, that's the Coke. That's the Coke kicking in.
A lot of Coke.
If you haven't seen Jingle All The Way, excuse me, let's try this again. Take 2.
Okay.
If you haven't seen Jingle All The Way, it is about a workaholic father played by Schwarzenegger named Howard Langston. Howard Langston.
I love how you know his full name. That's great.
Because I've seen it so many times, my man. He's played, by Schwarzenegger, and he is. The whole point of the film is that he's a workaholic dad who doesn't really pay attention to his family as much. He's always lying to him. He's always trying to hustle him into that he's there when he's not really there. And it's, slowly culminating into the Christmas season because his son wants the specific toy that is the craziest toy, the biggest toy craze of the year. It's called Turbo Man, based off of this, superhero in the movie called Turbo Man. And it's about his hunt to try to grab this on Christmas Eve while dealing with other crazy people that want to get the toy.
Other hijinks. It's very... I like to think it's almost very cartoony, this film.
Oh, yeah, no, it's definitely cartoony. It's
super
full,
cartoony.
It's full-on cartoon. It's like a kid's cartoon kind of humor because you've got sound effects, you've got things that are over the top, and so it's not just a normal comedy. Yeah, it's kind of like it borderlines that almost cartoonish comedy.
It is. It's wacky and kind of out there, and it at the end, like we'll talk about, the end doesn't really make any logical sense, but
yeah, we go right into it with a pseudo episode of Turbo Man, which is Turbo Man. He's decked out in his red and gold outfit, kind of like Iron Man, really, without the mask.
Very similar.
So that came same kind of color scheme, and it's just like a stereotypical, like AC said, like a Mighty Morphin Power Rangers show where you've got the villain screaming about villainy and how he's gonna
in the desert. By the way, when I think of Power Rangers, I think of them in like the desert or like in the mountains
always,
and stuff.
Because that was the cheapest. That was the reason why it was like that, is because the dude Saban who did, I think he was Israeli. I don't remember, but the gentleman who took the original Japanese show literally took footage and was like the cheapest man possible. He took a little amount of footage, filmed some new scenes, and that's why it was so successful, is because he barely made it with any money. So that's why they were always in like some desert or something.
Desert places.
Is because there was no need to pay for filming locations, no need for props, nothing. To make it the more simple, the better. So it's like that, like AC said. They're in the desert. He's got, I think, the president of the United States or someone important.
Something.
The evil guy, Dementor, as he's a stereotypical villain with, in this case, he's got a green and black suit, big fake brain in a glass jar on top of his head.
It reminded me of Mars Attacks. Have you seen Mars
Yes.
Attacks?
Yeah, like
very
the aliens.
similar,
Yeah.
the alien brains. And stuff.
So like that, he has a detachable hand that punches Turbo in the face, and so it just plays out like a normal Saturday morning cartoon. He saves the day, saves the kids. And then it pans out to reveal that Arnold's son, Jamie, played by Jake Lloyd, is watching this episode of Turbo Man in his living room, and he's going crazy with saying the catchphrases and going after it and going nuts and enjoying himself.
He's being Jake Lloyd, and
he's being Scrooge when he's a kid, because that's the same thing that I was doing.
Literally. And from real quick, it has said in the Wikipedia that this film draws inspiration from the high demand for Christmas toys such as the Cabbage Patch Kids and the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers in the late 1980s and early 1990s.
Yep.
So, the whole premise of this film is related to that. Even it says right here, Chris Columbus, the producer of the film, experienced a similar situation in 1995 when he attempted to obtain a Buzz Lightyear action figure for the film Toy Story, released that year. So that's like the whole premise. This kid is just blindly in love with his toys on TV. But weren't we all as children? We were obsessed with
I had
toys.
mine, and I'm just getting onto the trivia too on that. I love my thing was I had a ton of different obsessions. So as long my attitude was, if I liked it, I liked it. And that's why I said I needed all of it. I needed every figure. I needed the whole toy line. I was the perfect.
You were one of those kids.
I was the perfect customer in a kid because I wanted it all. I wanted it all, and I had to have it all. And so that's exactly what this is playing to, is that satire of here's this new character who there's got merchandise out of the ass, and people are gonna want it. So it's established in the beginning. That's Turbo Man, who he is, and how the kid really wants it. And then the next is being introduced to Arnold Schwarzenegger's character.
I have a question I was thinking about.
Yeah.
If you could pick 3 toys that represent your childhood, what would they be?
My childhood would be, I'd have to just say Godzilla in general, because I have so many different Godzilla
Yeah, that's
stuff.
what I'm saying, like a toy series.
Yeah, Toy Series. Okay, Toy Series for sure. Godzilla. Probably Ninja Turtles.
Okay.
And then Legos. Legos /
Legos.
building blocks.
Yeah.
That'd
Mine would be Tech Deck Dudes.
Okay, I
remember them. Remember those?
Oh yeah, Tech Deck.
Had so many of those.
I'm pretty sure I have some somewhere
Really?
in the basement. Yeah.
I loved Tech Deck Dudes. Second up was I would honestly probably say Legos as well, but Pokemon cards. Anything Pokemon related, I was huge into.
See, that's what I said about anything caught my attention, because all that stuff I was into, even the stuff you just mentioned.
Yeah.
I was into that too. You could literally find pretty much a little bit of everything, because I was into Pokemon, I was into Yu-Gi-Oh, I was into everything. Literally bits and pieces. Like what you see in here is literally 5% of what I had. There's literally I have spins, I have stacked boxes of all the stuff that I have. Literally,
we'll have to go through it one day. That'd be a cool YouTube video where we just go through
I think
everything.
you would enjoy that, honestly.
That'd be fun. But anyways, yeah, like he's got that I mean, I saw it tonight in Jet. Like kids literally like fall in love with toys, and it's amazing that like it's still a thing even in 2020 that kids are still finding pleasure in toys,
because it unlocks that imagination capacity in a kid. In my opinion, I think it's because they already, as a kid, you're prone to do and think things in such a over the top way of being creative and whatever, and toys just help you live that out.
They do.
And in this case, my nephew now has the ability to become a Darth Darth Vader Darth Vader murderer of the Sith who gets to run around and chop people's heads off with a lightsaber.
Yep, thanks to me. I gave
thanks
him
to you.
that,
You were able to give him that violence.
I inspired him.
That. I definitely appreciate that.
So after he's watching this, essentially we learn that he's a really shitty father. Correct?
Yeah, we're introduced to Schwarzenegger's character through a Christmas party where everybody's partying, having a good time, and he's up in his office making business calls, and of course, in stereotypical,
say the line, please.
He's always, you want 400 mattresses by Tuesday? No problem. You're my number one customer.
He's a mattress seller,
mattress king,
wow.
And every person he talks on the phone, he says, "You're my number one customer. You're my number one customer. You're my number one customer." And eventually, his wife gets on the phone, and we find out that he's got a karate class. They keep saying karate class. Now this is where I'm gonna lose my fucking mind because it's not a karate class. Okay, it's a belt graduation. It's not a class. Okay, this is how much they don't give a shit about karate.
Right.
Okay?
You're right. It's not even a class.
They keep saying class, and it's not a class. Okay, God, I hate these people. That's one of the biggest things that always piss me off, even as a kid and as an adult. He's got a karate class. He's supposed to be there in 30 minutes. He keeps saying, "I'm gonna make it. Everything's fine. It's all gonna be good." Mm-hmm. Both his secretary and his wife remind him of this. Sure enough, he shows that he does not care enough to leave on time. So he leaves late.
He doesn't. He tries, though.
Yeah,
Can we at least give him that benefit of the doubt? That his father isn't completely shitty. This movie paints him out to be this awful father. And I was telling you, throughout this film, I was thinking in my head, okay, either Jake Lloyd's a fucking shithead or a spoiled little shithead, or he's a bad father. And I think it's a little bit of both, because I do think he's trying his best to make sure that kid has a good... Think of all the crazy adventures he goes through just to get his kid a doll. He could literally say, "I don't give a fuck about you, kid. Fuck you. Fuck the new Star Wars movie. I don't care about you," But he doesn't. He doesn't care at all.
True, but he's still not a great father though, by the standards of because remember, there's plenty of rich parents that could get their kids anything they want, but they never give them actually love and affection either.
That's true.
If we want to get deep and sensual over here.
I would, I guess, but I don't know. I didn't think. But that line that you were just saying, number one customer, reminded me of Santa with Muscles. So we need to talk about this real quick. We need to take a little detour, if we may.
No.
So we talked about Santa with Muscles last week, and we talked about how they tried to take Hulk Hogan and make him into a family children's actor for like family films and whatever.
Yep.
So they did it with Arnold. And it worked in Kindergarten Cop, even though Kindergarten Cop technically isn't a family film. It's a little bit more drama.
It's a hybrid.
A little bit more thriller, whatever. Did very well in it. Did great in it. Last Action Hero, I believe, was his next film that was kid-oriented, if I remember.
Not like kid. It was just involved the kid.
Yeah,
involved the kid.
Yeah, it involved a kid.
So okay, let me rephrase that, because Terminator 2 involved a kid too.
True.
Last Action Hero was more kid oriented in the sense of the plot and the storyline, but it still wasn't a straight up like kids movie.
Yeah.
So no.
It was on the brink though, and I think that it was getting to a point where he was eventually going to be in a children's film, and I guess this is the first introduction. Do you know? Is this the first introduction to him being in like a kids film? Because everything else, I don't really see anything else.
Like I said, Kindergarten Cop is, because that is drama, but it is mostly you've got a lot of kids.
But like a full out fledged kids.
This first one, so this would be a perfect opportunity. So let's this would be a perfect opportunity to say something real quick. Two things. One, I believe this shows you the difference of why something like this worked better than something with like Santa with Muscles, is because if you notice throughout the entirety of this film, they make jokes or they make comments towards his physique, but they don't showcase it.
Well, there's that joke about the bench press.
Right,
Phil
but
Hartman
it's one joke. If you notice,
yes.
most of the time he's wearing coats, he's wearing outfits that completely cover his feet. You can tell he's jacked because he's Arnold, but he, for the most part, is covered.
By the way, great pot. That man has great
posture.
Posture.
Yeah, because he's a Greek god. He's an Austrian god, excuse me.
Yeah.
With his stogies. It's covered. It's not really heavily emphasized that he's just big hulking dude who works out. Take Santa with Muscles, that just stupid, him running around with a sleeveless Santa suit and he's always got his muscles out and stuff like that. It's like, it's clearly like, hey, look how big I am and this is so ridiculous.
I mean, the title of the film.
Sam with muscles. It's stupid. That's why it didn't work.
Jingle
Something
with
like
muscles
this.
all the way. Imagine that.
Oh my god.
Jingle with muscles.
No.
Jingle all the way with muscles. That'd be a good.
But
one.
they downplay who Arnold like actually is size wise in this, and I think that's also part of why it works. Second thing is people would be, if you're an Arnold fan, you're like, why does he do this or whatever? Like, why would he do this? He's a big tough guy. Well, Arnold, if you listen to him in interviews, he always liked being challenged, and he always liked being able to do different things.
Yeah.
And he didn't like being held down because from the moment he even considered doing a movie career, he was told he couldn't do it. So, second thing is on top of that is that he actually said all of the filmmaking experiences of his life, all of the ones that he enjoyed the most were the ones that had to do with kids and kids movies.
I could see that.
He said he had the most fun ever.
He looks like a big bear. Like, he looks like he'd be really nice around those kids.
He said he bonded with those kids in Kindergarten Cop, and then in like Jingle All The Way, he literally has said that those were the funnest or the most fun he's ever had making a movie and the most best time. So it's
do you think it's because the light itself is not shining just on Arnold? Like in this film, there's a lot of good side actors, and
I think it's because it's also like depending on the movie, it's usually strenuous because the tone isn't very light. Like a lot of the stuff that action movies, there's a lot of repetitive,
super
long days of filming action sequences and a lot of physical stuff.
And he can have fun. I feel like he would.
You can have fun, but like with
I'm saying having fun with films like this. I feel like Arnold could have a lot of fun.
But so he admitted that too, actually enjoying it. So then when you keep all that in mind, then you're like, oh, no wonder why he did movies like this. Because he actually had fun.
Yeah.
And so he wanted to prove he could do comedy. That was that he wanted that he could actually be funny, and not just like be funny. Because there's a difference between being Arnold funny, where he's doing one-liners, and then actually going for comedy, like actually being a comedic movie. Which not the same,
I don't really see him as a comedic actor. My whole premise and the joke for me is like, what's funny about it is that he's delivering these lines, and you wouldn't imagine Arnold delivering some of these lines. Like, I think that's the whole premise. Like, how I see it is that like the material itself isn't that funny, but it's like, oh my god, Arnold's trying to be in a kids movie. This is funny, and it works.
That's exactly
Unlike a Hulk Hogan, where it feels like he almost is forced into these films, and he
was.
He's, but at least Arnold is definitely a better actor than Hulk Hogan.
100%.
Hands down.
100%.
Hands down. So, anyways, we get back into it, and I mean, where are we in the film? Because to me, I told you, I saw this a bunch as a kid, haven't seen it since, and I was happy that we could
I can handle this.
You lead it. You lead the way.
So he has a karate class. He attempts to make it. He has his first interaction with Robert Conrad, who plays a cop, who he keeps running into throughout the movie.
Yes.
And he causes problems with because he's always trying to get somewhere or do something, and he ends up running into this cop.
Yeah, and he's heading down the highway, heading to the karate class.
Yeah, heading to the karate class. He decides there's a traffic jam, so he's going to ride the shoulder and just go past everybody. Mm-hmm. That gets the attention of Robert Conrad's cop. He pulls him over. He tries to get out of the ticket. Like, he needs to get somewhere, and he just gets pissed by that, so he gives him a ticket. Mm-hmm. Further harasses him to get out of the car and everything else, resulting in him eventually not being able to make it to the class.
Yep, and he shows up.
Class.
God,
that pisses me off. His belt grading. So he doesn't make it there. He gets there in time to see the janitors sweeping the auditorium, and then he has to go back to his house. Which then we are introduced further to Phil Hartman's character, who is Ted, the annoying neighbor who continues to harass his wife because he is shown to be this weird balance of like a loving neighbor and like womanizing scumbag who's trying to get with all of the women of the cul-de-sac or the neighborhood.
He's like Ned Flanders mixed with Quagmire. Yeah, if you know those references.
So I do actually. Ned Flanders, Simpsons, and then Family Guy.
Yeah,
it's borderline. It's borderline rapey with his wife, but then everybody else, because the whole like joke in this movie with Phil Hartman is that all the other mothers in the neighborhood love him, right? And they're
they love
him.
They
are just like soaking wet for this man because he's just he just gets them so much. But the hunt he wants is Arnold's wife, so he keeps trying to get involved with their lives for no reason, just so he can be closer to his wife. So Arnold comes home, and Phil Hartman's character Ted is putting up lights on his house for no reason. He didn't ask him to. He didn't say anything. And he's like, I just, I had some extra lights, so I thought I'd spread a little Christmas cheer. And he's like, oh, gee, thanks. What would I do without you, Ted?
He's trying to edge in. I know exactly what he's trying to do. He's trying to say, like, to the wife. What's her name in this film? I know her real name's Rita Wilson. She is actually married to Tom Hanks, but in this film,
Liz.
So I feel like Phil Hartman's trying to please Liz because, obviously Arnold's not the best father, and he's not going to be sitting around putting up these Christmas lights.
Right. Well, that's the point. That's part of the joke is that whole he's an equal opportunist kind of person where he notices that there's a riff with Arnold not being a caring husband, so he's trying to get in on that. The difference is that Arnold's wife is not having any of it. She's not taking any of that bait, so that's where the
she seems to at some points. Like
when?
Well, the point we'll talk about later where they're baking cookies and stuff like that. It's a weird. I know that he's forcing himself upon her, but she's not really rejective at that point. She is eventually. She does reject him.
I would say I would say though that was because she probably was in a position where she didn't really know how to deal with that,
how to do it,
or realize where he's really coming from.
Yeah, not saying she deserved it. Not saying she deserved it at all.
Yeah, you want to clarify yourself there before you get canceled on live.
I know. It's going to be the second time that I've been canceled on this podcast. That classic feeling.
That classic. That's such classic.
But I don't know. To me, she doesn't say directly, "Hey, enough's enough." Like we have to wait till the end of the film to actually do something.
Yeah. But is it because she knows exactly what he's doing and she chooses not to say something, or it's because she's kind of like
she doesn't know how to deal with it, I feel
exactly.
Like.
What is he trying to do? Is he just trying to be a nice neighbor, or is he getting a little weird? But so Arnold comes back. He starts throwing excuses around about why he was late and whatever. And eventually, comes to his son to try to catch up. And his son
that looks nothing like him. By the way.
Yes, you don't even
casting choices
make any sense. But who cares?
Austria. I think they thought, okay. Brown hair husband, brown hair wife equals brown hair kid, correct?
Yeah, but he's blonde.
He's got more, it's like light brown kind of.
Yeah, it's like a dirty blonde.
Bad casting is all I'm going to say.
So he his son's ignoring him because he once again failed him. So that leads into an awkward attempt to try to get back on his good side by coming into his room and asking him questions about the karate,
all this
belts
awesome
and everything.
Stuff. Kind of like your bedroom has a lot of cool stuff on his walls.
Ever since I was a kid, I always loved seeing his son's room in the movie. And you come in, he's got a big Merle. There we go.
Merle. America.
He's got a big Captain America. He's got a big mural of America,
yeah,
Captain America, and he's got his figures and stuff everywhere, just like how I would love to have my place. And
look at it. We're in here right now.
You see, bask in the ambiance.
Beautiful.
Bask in it.
But go ahead.
He tries to win him over with some. He throws on the belt. He starts throwing his mattress selling techniques at him, and kid's not having it. And finally, he's talking, which again, that's another pissed me off. So the kid starts talking about when he missed this belt. It's 2 from black, 1 from yellow. And if anyone knows anything about martial art belt systems, knows it's like this is all bullshit, and it pisses me off.
Dude, your fists were clenching during this part.
You were so annoying because they're so stupid because they don't care. They obviously they just talk about karate like it's they don't know what the hell they're talking about, whatever. But eventually,
so disrespectful of these fucking writers.
These
screenwriters, how dare they?
He eventually coaxes out of his son what would finally make him happy to make up for all of the crap he's putting him through, and he admits it's a new Turbo Man action figure. So he realizes, okay, great. This is the thing I need to do. So he puts his son to bed.
I need to buy my child's love instead of giving him my time and my appreciation and all of this. No, I'm just going to buy his love.
What happened to that whole speech about Arnold's a good father?
He's a good father in the sense that he's working hard to put a fucking roof over their head, okay? And I'm going to use that word as much as I want, okay?
Fine.
All right.
That's fine. But you were the one who said, "Oh, he's such a good." Now you're like, buy your child's love." I mean, we're doing a 180 here.
I guess. Like I said, people look at this film, they say Jake Lloyd's a shithead, but also the dad's a shithead. Like I said, it's a little bit of both, but I still am rooting for Arnold at the end of the day. So.
Okay. Well, so
you're on Jake Lloyd's side. I could tell.
Well, as I told you. Once you find out how Jake Lloyd's life turned out after the harassment he got with Phantom Menace and these movies, I feel bad for the kid.
Yeah.
Because he's a drug-fueled mess.
But this was before. This was before that. So
yeah, but it was Jingle All The Way, and then it was Phantom Menace, and then people just harassed him to the point where he just didn't want to be, in the film industry anymore, and just went to drugs and, drinking and losing his.
Do you think
his morality?
Do you think the drug addiction like began in Jingle All the Way? Like obviously
No.
like obviously he's young, he can't do it. But don't you think there's like a little seed that was planted in his head, like, oh my God, you're doing Jingle All the Way, you're gonna become a future drug abuser, correct?
I would say that was more with Phantom Menace. As soon as people said that he was just a whiny kid, that they hated his performance in Phantom, then I would say yes. That's when they started sowing the seeds there. But that's why I give him a little bit more. He is annoying in this movie, but I just feel bad for the kid in general because his life didn't turn out very well, and he's just a kid. It's not easy to get.
But a performance, though, is half of it is the screenplay. It's who's writing these lines and delivery of the lines.
But it's a kid who, you're trying to get a performance out of a kid. It's like, should have just got somebody else,
Yeah. Could have did a CGI kid like they did to Jar Jar Binks.
Oh yeah, that would have won just fine. That would have went even better. Good idea there.
Hey, they say never work with kids and never work with animals. And
I have heard that before. But that's why I like to work with both
at the same time. Perfect. So as we were saying,
he puts his son to bed, and then he has a discussion with his wife about we were laughing, we're having fun, we were talking about that Turbo guy, and they get into a discussion about how he was bonding with him, but did he actually get the figure? And Arnold, being the slick salesman that he is, lies to his wife.
Yes.
Lies to his wife that he got the action figure months ago, and not that he doesn't have it, and it's Christmas Eve the next day, and he doesn't have anything, so he goes to sleep freaking out.
Which is great. I love the shot. It's basically he lays down, and then what does she say to him?
She said, because she's like, oh, you got the doll, right? And he's losing, and he's like, the doll. He's like, oh, yeah, I got it. Great. And then they're about to go to sleep, and she's like, great, because
it's sold
at this point, it'd be impossible to find.
Yeah.
And he freaks out.
I love that. It's like, for some reason, it's like lit up, too. Like, it's like a dark room, but it's lit up. Yeah. And then he does the face, which he does at the end of the film as well.
Next scene is his son's breaking into some Turbo Man cereal, which ever since I was a kid I wanted a box of. And he starts to try to sneak off, and he's caught by his wife, and he conjures up a story of that he's going to his office, his work office, to go pick up the toy because that's where he left it.
Mm-hmm.
Lying to her that he's going to go on a trip to go find it. So he goes, he convinces them that's where he's going to go. His son's already telling him that he's got to get back for the parade.
Which is like a huge part of this movie.
Huge part of the family's traditions from the movie, what they're saying. And so Arnold takes this opportunity to look him straight in the face and say, I'll be there. I promise.
Yes. And he does make it there. He does make it.
So he runs into Ted with his reindeer outside as he's getting into his car. And he has a weird, awkward conversation with Phil Hartman about, getting that figure and how he's going to have to go pick it up. And
he's like, I already have one under the tree.
And he tells him, I've already got one nestled safely under the tree. And
what a shithead, dude.
Well, honestly. It's that passive aggressive slide, throwing barbs and jabs at each other underneath, pretending to be nice.
Yeah.
So he drives off. He drives off to head on to his adventure of trying to find this toy.
Everyone's laughing at him. He's getting laughed at when he's talking about this Turbo Man.
Yeah. Well, it first starts out with he gets to this toy store that has a huge group of people standing outside, and he tries to get in, but they literally won't let them in for another 2 minutes until the time actually starts. So while he's standing in line, he runs into Sinbad's character, which is Myron, the postal worker, who slowly turns into, starts off as a normal conversation and turns into him being a psychotic, like pretty much like a conspiracy theory, weird ass, just like one of those dudes where you accidentally run into on the street and you talk to them for longer than you should have.
Yeah, you be nice to them in the beginning, and then they take that as like,
and they take that and they're great, so
I
can start talking. And they start talking about like interstellar travel with aliens, up their ass and stuff like that. And then you're like, so he's
funny. Okay, yeah. I will give Sinbad this. He's funny in this movie.
He does a good job. Which, if you read up on it, he improvised a lot of his lines, and so did Arnold. So that's a lot of it was them, talking back and forth. So they're having a conversation about this toy and how they got to get it, and their sons want them together and whatever, and so having this little discussion. And finally, the bell chimes. They turn the sign open and they come bursting through the door. Now this is a good opportunity now to jump into where the satire takes place.
Okay.
Where I think people kind of lose the fact that why it's making fun of it, because there is, in my opinion, I love shopping, man. I love shopping, I love collecting, but there's something crazy that we can say that people have actually been murdered during shopping seasons.
Oh my God! Yeah,
Like
trampled.
I mean, like
Trampled.
how is it as a people we can say that people were actually murdered during a shopping season? Not from some freak accident, not from some like crazy, psycho with like a gun who just started shooting people. Literally, people being trampled to death because they wanted to get in so quickly.
And the guy, the security guy or the guy who works there gets trampled on.
Yeah, he's right there at the front door, and they burst right through. Everybody comes running through. The scene is of chaos. Everyone comes running in. They're crashing into people. No regard for anybody. Destroying entire shelf spaces of toys. Eventually, Arnold and Myron get to the Howard and
no, just call him Arnold. I'm just gonna call him Arnold and Sinbad because
you're lame. That's why.
Who cares about their names? I mean, come on.
Don't even start with me with this bullshit. If we went back in every episode, you'd be like giving the name of every stupid person in your Italian horror movies. Okay. Don't even give me that shit. Okay.
Oh my God.
So they get to the middle of the display and it's all sold out. All the Turbomans are sold out. They're freaking out. They come across the one dude from SNL, which I forgot what his name was, but he's got the bowl haircut. He's from SNL.
Is he the one that starts laughing at him?
He's the first one who starts laughing.
Yes.
And they're like, "Oh, do you have any Turbomans in the back?" And they start laughing right in their face. Everybody joins in. That these two idiots are here trying to find the hottest toy of the season, and they're wondering where theirs. Everybody's laughing in their face, and they tell them they should be able to find Turboman's faithful sidekick Booster, who's like a giant pink saber-toothed tiger.
Yeah.
And the joke being,
which is super Power Rangers. I don't know why. In Power Rangers, there was many like animal things like
there was
that.
There was animal that they fought. They had the robot that was a sidekick, Alpha 5.
Yep.
So, but this is another satire of Turbo Man is the hot item, but you have the evil guy Dementor and then the Booster that no one wants. Mm-hmm. So, like, that's mirroring reality where a lot of toy lines, a lot of people would buy stuff, but there were, like, usually that one either character or item that no one cared about. Like, there was a ton of that.
Yeah.
But the one that you wanted was always sold out,
Kind of similar. It's like now with like the PlayStation 5, you can go out and you can buy any PlayStation 5 game hands down, or you can buy a controller. Yeah. You cannot get a console. And it's the same thing with the Turbo Man, is you could get all the sidekicks and everything extra, but you couldn't get the crucial main thing.
Yeah. So they get laughed at, but Arnold uses his Arnold power to get out of the guy that some lady has it on layaway. So they try literally chasing after the lady.
Yep.
And this starts the hijinks of him and Myron feuding over this toy, crashing into each other, purposely trying to sabotage each other. Arnold tries running after this chick with the fur coat that has the Arnold toy. She escapes with the Arnold toy. And then that sets off a montage of Arnold going through phone books, driving, going to different toy stores, everyone laughing in their face.
Good montage. Now, is this the montage with the Tom Petty song, or is
no? This is one. Jingle bells, jingle bells, jingle all the way. Honestly, one of my favorite sequences of the movie, because you have it's a good editing process of him running to each store, being laughed at, the music, and this is where the satire part of it I think is lost on people, because. Again, this is another part why I connect with this movie, because I remember these struggles of running around to different toy stores, either for something that I needed to get, or in order to get everything of a certain line. Like you could talk to my parents about how I don't have them with me up here, but I have an entire case of SpongeBob toys from a line they did at Burger King, which is called SpongeBob Lost in Time, back when they made the movie.
Nice.
And there was a collection of about 24 to 27 different SpongeBobs from across time. So like Samurai, Statue of Liberty, a bunch of them.
You have all of them? Damn.
All of them.
Wow.
I have all of them down in the basement. But that was like one of those things where I had to go around and get them. It was either buying the meal or actually just straight up buying the toy on the sly for some money.
That's awesome.
And so like that's why another reason why the movie connects with me is because I've been there with running to different stores, them being sold out, and that was part of the fun, was doing that.
Yeah, it's like seeing what you're gonna get when you get to the store, and you don't get that nowadays with all this online shopping and shit like that.
Which I can again talk to you about that. It's not like I was thinking about this. Is like this movie works as a time capsule because of the fact that.
Toy stores.
That's how it was. Toy stores was the only way
big.
You could. And nowadays, I'm not saying that it just completely eliminates that problem, because it doesn't. Because there's a lot of stuff you can't get online that you only can get in person.
In person.
But that definitely eliminates a lot of the problem where it is cool and convenient that I could literally just pop on Amazon and get something in 2 days.
Mm-hmm.
But it does destroys that awesome physical, and I know you're weird like me where you like to do the same thing with going into a store and seeing things, and that, I mean, it honestly, it saddens me, man. It depresses me.
It is. But I also do like how, for example, this film shows you that, like, people are fucking waiting in line or what. I don't miss that. I don't. I'm a guy who's like, you know what, nowadays, if it gets sent to me in 2 days, I don't care. I don't want to wait in a line at a store. Because the other day, for an example, I was at, I think it was Best Buy. I was getting a gift for my dad, and I could have obviously got it online, but I didn't want to order it to the house because then he would know it's there, whatever. And I was waiting in line. There's probably like 10 or 15 people in line, and it's like, I mean, technically you're only waiting like 15, 20 minutes at the most, whereas you would order something, you get it in 2 days. But sometimes I like to just order things, forget about it, and then when it comes there, then I think there's that kind of convenience that I do like about online shopping, but I do love being in the store and actually feeling it and seeing whatever you're actually buying.
I think the way that we can make it work is having a balance, because anything out of balance ruins it.
Mm-hmm.
Too much online ruins a lot of both industries and jobs.
Yep.
But then also the human element of interacting with one another, but then also having the ability to do stuff online makes it convenient for when it's necessary.
It does.
So
I think every one of my presents, every present this year I bought for people was all in stores, because cool. I know that stores are suffering right now, especially.
Yeah, exactly. And this is what, like, this isn't, I mean, it's a whole other conversation, but in my opinion, pisses me off. I am all for people's success, and I'm all for free marketing capitalism. That's me. But when it's forced capitalism, when you're literally forced to shut your places down and buy from Amazon, is not right.
Mm-hmm.
Not right at all. But
it isn't.
Anyway, I digress before we get into a political debate. But so it's like that part huge. That huge part of like my life and childhood is that sequence there. So he's running. He's trying to go from place to place.
Now this is where the bouncy ball part happens.
Well, so he finally like gives up for a little bit.
Yeah.
He's like, he needs a break. So he calls home, and this is when his wife is baking cookies. She's baking cookies.
Of course she is.
Yeah, because that's what women do.
It's literally the only thing women can do.
So she's baking cookies as the kids are playing in the background, and Ted, the good old Phil Hartman, comes in.
Well, the kid, by the way, Jake Lloyd's friend there, which is Phil Hartman's son.
Yeah.
Little shit. Yeah, you said you didn't like this fat.
No, because okay. So again, this is because I am I'm a martial art purist, and I'm kind of a hard-nosed bastard when it comes to it. And earlier in the movie, when they're doing the karate graduation, he's just, you see this fat kid, getting his next belt. He doesn't know what the hell he's doing. The rest of the other kids are kicking and punching like little, wimp bags, and he's getting his new belt. So, of course, I'm seeing over here fighting. He just pisses me off because he's just fat and annoying.
Yeah, and thinks he's all that.
And so, God, it just pisses me off. But so Phil Hartman's character comes in and starts, creepily trying to get Liz to let go of the cookie baking duties so he can take over, and he creepily takes off her apron as
from the front,
so that way he can get cop a feel from her,
literally,
and throw on the apron, and then again shows that his facade is kind of a little darker in nature, because he burns his hand on one of the cookies and yells at the kids.
And you can tell it's all a wait, what'd you call it?
Facade.
Yeah, it's all a play. Yeah, definitely.
So the phone rings, and it's Arnold, and Phil Hartman picks up. Arnold, wondering what the hell this guy's picking up his phone for, starts off kind of
when you're in somebody's house, you don't pick up their phone. Like, what the hell?
And that's part of where the crazy stuff is going back and forth. And Arnold's like, "Yeah, where's my wife?" And he's like, "Oh, she's taking a shower. How want me to go check?" He's like, "No." He's like, on your way out, you can just tell her that I'm, gonna be there a little late, but everything's gonna be fine. And in between, Phil, one of the best, of course, scenes in the movie, where one of those Arnold moments where maybe you've not seen the movie, but you've heard it before. It's when Phil Hartman keeps talking about these cookies and how delicious they are. They're like, oh, I gotta get this recipe from Liz. And then Arnold all of a sudden yells out, "Put that cookie down now!" And then calms down, and they hang up, and this is where Arnold runs into Sinbad again, And Sinbad again.
Where is he this time? They're at the mall. Or?
No, he's at a payphone with other people, and they don't really allude to it, but the idea is that these are other people too that are looking for Turbo Man. They're all just kind of standing around.
Yeah.
And so he's walking by, and he runs into Sinbad's character again, and this time Sinbad's got a job. Sorry, a team idea of that they should get together and try to hit at it.
Oh, this is where they're at the is that like the restaurant bar that they're at? Is this the bar?
They're walking on the side of the street. And he's trying to convince him they should team up. Arnold's not having any of it, and that hurts his feelings. And then as they're talking, a guy runs by and says that they just found out that there's a new shipment of Turbo Man at this toy world.
Okay.
And then they quickly run into their cars, try to get off faster, and in this,
Arnold
crashes
knocks
into
over.
into a bike.
Yeah.
He gets out, sighing, annoyed. He picks it up to find out that it's that same cop from earlier that he just destroyed his bike.
Yeah.
And so more tickets.
Of course.
And so then cue the Tom Petty song.
This is what. So, this film, when I think about it, how I always thought how to divide it is you have the intro with the karate thing. Then you have Arnold, looking throughout the entire film for this doll. And then you have the final parade. Those are the three parts. So, this part always messes me up. So, this is the part with the Tom Petty montage.
Yes.
Great song. Christmas All Over Again, I think it's called, correct?
Yeah.
And, they're at the mall. And then this is also... What is this whole premise? Because I don't get it. So... One of the bouncy balls has a certain design on it, and if you get that one, you get a Turbo Man doll?
So the idea, again, this is where the satire comes in, so
they're making these people essentially fight for these bouncy balls, right?
Well, what happened was, they're coming there because they said they got new Turbo Man. So the idea was that they're going to do this thing where they have a bunch of different colored balls. And the original idea was they're supposed to line up and come up and get one at a time, get a ball. And then anybody who has the ball with the Turbo Man design on it
I thought they
gets
just
a doll.
threw them for people.
Well, it's because this is where the satire comes in, where everyone started pushing and getting crazy and not getting into a line and then forcing them. They're trying to grab the balls from the people, and then that's why they threw it up. Eventually, they just throw it up in the air, and then everybody fights over them. And then that's why, again, like I said, satire, you've got It's the Most Wonderful Time of the Year. That, I think that's Bing Crosby.
It is, but it's a remixed version. It's a little bit
but
faster.
So,
and stuff,
it's the juxtaposition of saying it's the most wonderful time of the year as they're fighting each other.
Yeah.
They're crashing into...
I didn't even notice that. That's actually good.
They're crashing into aisles and other toys. Oh, let me actually bring it back a little bit. The dude who's talking about the Turbo Man dolls tells them that because of the laws of supply and demand, they're going to charge double what the Turbo Mans are actually cost.
Wow.
Because of how rare they are. Which, again, I'll probably say part of the satire, part of just, ripping people off.
Also, I do not actually believe stores can do that.
No.
I don't
absolutely
think they
not.
can.
No.
I believe individual sellers on eBay obviously can do that. And
you can do whatever you want, but not
if you're buying it from a company, you have to sell it for that certain price.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think they could just double it like that. But that was but the thing in the movie is obviously they're just doing whatever they want because people are so desperate for the Turbo Man
that's
toy.
Fucking greedy. Yeah.
So they all fight over the ball. Arnold gets it first, then Sinbad pepper sprays him in the face, gets one, and then Arnold gets the crowd to turn on him and to knock him down, which knocks the ball out of his hand. And then thus starts a chase scene where Arnold's running through the mall trying to find the gold ball that has the Turbo Man design on it. Landing him in a children's playground area because this kid with the dumbest bowl cut
stupid
possible.
Haircut. I remember this kid.
Yeah.
The freaking little kid puts it in his mouth or puts it in her mouth.
Well, he chases after. They finally get into a ball pit, and the kid shoves it into her mouth, and Arnold tries to get it from her, and then immediately starts getting beat on by the mothers.
Oh, that was
with
great.
purses.
I love seeing that.
And
That's
he's
great.
like, "I'm not a pervert. I'm just looking for a Turbo Man doll." Then all of a sudden you hear, "Hey, you want a Turbo Man for Christmas?" And he turns around, and it's a mall Santa.
Oh, Jim Belushi, ladies
that's right.
and gentlemen.
Jim Belushi.
I think this is the first episode with Jim Belushi, correct? I don't think we've ever talked about Jim Belushi before. He's in a lot of bad movies. That's why I wanted to
I couldn't
bring
say
him
for
up.
sure because maybe he was a bit player in one of the movies we've watched together.
Which one?
I'm just saying maybe he was a bit
No,
player.
well, when I think of Jim Belushi, I think of K9. You've heard of that film?
I've
right?
heard of it, but I've never watched it.
That's like what I think of. Yeah.
Well, I think of Jim Belushi. Think of he was in Trading Places and Cameo, but more Red Heat with Arnold.
He
which
popped
is
up everywhere. Oh yeah, and he was
which
with
is
Arnold. Yeah.
which is them coming together again for this. So Arnold runs into this mall Santa, which, if anybody's paying attention enough, is Jim Belushi, who starts talking very shadily to him about how he's looking for a Turbo Man and he can get one for him. And Arnold doesn't believe him at first, but then he shows a picture of, again, this is the satire, he shows him a picture of a toy, and he says that was taken this morning, which is like a joke playing off of like hostages. When people take pictures of hostages, they usually have a newspaper to show what day it is and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So, again, the satire, that's kind of, I think, personally lost on people.
I didn't pick up on that.
So he agrees to come with him to get this Turbo Man action figure finally. Mm-hmm. And that cuts to them driving to some weird abandoned, weird warehouse in the middle of a junkyard. Arnold doesn't know where he's going. He's listening to him, and
they got a dog at the gate.
Yeah, a German
Of course,
Shepherd.
He's got reindeer on, but yeah, he's supposed to be like menacing and stuff. I'm like, what is this movie? Like, what are you trying to pull?
Well, that's part. Real quick, that's part of the reason why I think most people don't, if they don't like this for their childhood purposes, they don't like the movie, is because it kind of is all over the place.
It is, and it's going over the top at parts.
Yeah,
it's very.
But for me, I've already went all in when I was a kid, so I really can't pull back out.
Yeah,
and so I'm having this baby. You understand what I'm saying? I can't pull out anymore.
So they get to this door, though. Oh my god, I just got that.
You're welcome.
So they get to this door, and
same thing she says too.
They get to this door, and I remember this as a kid. He pulls the thing out. There's just a little square so you can see. And I don't know who that is. It looked very familiar, the actor that was...
It was just another... Well, I don't think it was anyone, unless you want to look it up on IMDb. I think it was just another, person they had for a Santa.
Yeah.
But he says password, and he says Jingle Bells, Batman Smells. And they let him in, and it's revealed that they're part of this giant...
Counterfeit like toy
Santa Claus counterfeiting scheme of mall Santa. Like, they don't really explain it, but it's literally a giant warehouse where they're making toys.
Everyone's dressed up like Santa.
Everybody's dressed up in Santas and elves and helpers, and they got counting money, and they got all these toys and everything, and Belushi's like, I know what you're thinking. He's like, oh, you have no idea. And he's like, Santa, this doesn't seem kosher. And he gets pissed and starts giving him a spiel about how this is all for the kids and everything else, and then he gets the Turbo Man for him, and he tells him $300 for it.
How much do you think these dolls go for normally?
I would say, okay, this would be my opinion, but if you're talking about like nowadays, a doll or a figure like that really wouldn't be any more like $40-50.
Yeah, I was thinking $50.
Like $40-50. You're talking about like a big plastic one that kind of talks, and it's in the box and whatever. So I would say probably like $50.
50, yeah, okay.
So, and like even at that point, back in the 90s, probably even cheaper, but I'd say around that point. So we're talking about
crazy amount
literally
of money.
charging him a ton amount of money. But so he gets it, and he tries to convince him not to open it, but Arnold opens it on the spot. And this is one of my favorite sequences as a kid. My dad loved it. He presses it, and it speaks in Spanish. It says, "Hambre turbo," and he tries to convince him it's a multilingual version. It's fun, educational.
Multilingual, that's great.
Yeah, and then he opens it. He starts to open it, and pieces fall everywhere.
Yeah,
it falls apart.
I thought at first that Arnold broke it because the joke. I thought the joke was again that he's a buff guy, he's a tough guy, and whatever. But no, it's obviously faulty. Correct.
Yeah, and it's a complete because it was cheap, which is so now. We can talk a little bit about this real quick, which is I don't know if these things have ever happened like that with Santa and everything, but there is definitely a huge counterfeiting market to toys.
Oh yeah,
knockoffs.
We've sent each other some of them before.
Some of these, the knockoff from like China, Mexico, pretty much anywhere.
You said you want some of these. You should buy some of these.
So
honestly.
One of my favorite things I ever saw at one of the Godzilla conventions I go to is my buddy bought. It's not in here sadly, but I've always wanted to get one. It was this knockoff Godzilla toy called Big Fella.
Big fella.
It was literally just a wind-up toy of a cheesy-looking Godzilla with a cap with a title that said "Big Fella."
That's amazing.
That was the name of it.
That's amazing.
And that's exactly what I'm talking about. So it's a real thing, and it's hilarious because there have been compilation albums on Facebook and stuff.
Mm-hmm. I've seen them before, and my sister, when my sister worked, or when she lived in New York City, I remember going to Chinatown, and they sold a bunch of. I didn't really look at them, but I knew that they were absolutely fake and just crap. But
good stuff. I love it. Amazing.
I'll have to find some for you for next Christmas.
Please do. So he realized what's going on. He calls him out. This literally, again, another see for me as a kid and as an adult, I still love it because it's hilarious. But again, a ridiculous sequence, really. He gets into a fight with all the mall Santas that escalates into the stereotypical nunchuck-wielding Santa. He gets a giant candy cane, starts beating everybody up.
Talk about that trope for a sec.
So my opinion, I love martial arts, but a lot of movies shit on martial arts because most of the time, at least back in the good old days, it was the same formula of you had the big American hero or the big, white, usually the big white guy.
Yep.
And they'd be fighting a bunch of henchmen, and out of the mist or out of the, chaos would emerge a weapon-wielding, usually Asian. Usually. I say usually because it's either an Asian actor or martial arts or stuntman, or someone who just is a martial artist and they have Asian music playing in the background, but they have this one dude who comes out, starts going wah and spinning chucks and doing a bunch of stuff. It does a huge spectacle of martial art prowess, like, oh, look at me. And then all of a sudden it's like, have you ever seen Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark?
No, I haven't.
Oh, you suck, big.
But listen, I played I
don't want to hear it.
I played the Lego games, so I feel like I'm well versed on it.
Okay, well, there's the scene from the first one where
he shoots the guy that's doing all the things.
Spins,
yes, I know what you're talking about.
So it's like that. It's literally like that, but it's the martial art aspect of it, where someone comes out, does a huge wah, and then the hero shoots him, beats him up with a one punch, one kick, or it's like that. Mm-hmm. So that trope, of course, is thrown into this because a nunchuck-wielding Santa comes flying out of nowhere, and he just hits him in the face with a giant candy cane. And then he starts fighting other Santas, and then all of a sudden, thunderous boots start hitting the floor.
They've done this before. In a Batman game I've played, they do this where, Batman's kicking ass, and then a fucking dude who's like 7 foot tall in this case comes out of nowhere and kind of says, you're not as hot shit as you think you are because I'm a hulking big man played by
The Big Show. Anybody who's out there, he was the Giant in WCW or The Big Show, or anybody who really knows their pop culture, he was Captain Insano in The Waterboy.
Oh, wow. That's a deep cut.
Yeah.
That's a deep find right there.
Captain Insano in The Waterboy. So, of course, he fights The Big Show in a Santa costume, which is hilarious. That lasts about 3 seconds. And finally, they get the best of him with a taser, put a dog pile on him, and just about as that happened, then they get raided by the cops. And as that happened, everyone's running around scurrying. Arnold's trying to gather his bearings. Someone finds him, and he then pretends to be an undercover cop using a fake toy badge he finds. His
acting was pretty bad right here, I will say.
I loved it. See,
I thought it was so bad. Like, he's really not playing this off well. Like, it's supposed to be goofy, like you said, satirical.
Well, again, that's what I'm saying. Like, okay, no, satirical, but this kind of parts is where I think where they lose the audience. Me, as I said, I'm looking at this through kids' glasses almost every time. Mm-hmm. But if you look at it, it really is all over the place because this is where the satirical thing kind of goes out the window, and it's more just like they're just making it up as on the fly. Like all of a sudden now he's in the middle of a raid and they're arresting everybody, and he just pops out a fake badge that he finds, a toy one, and then convinces all the cops that he's actually the police detective and that they should arrest everybody else, and he just leaves. Next shot of him is him driving down a bridge in his car to realize that his car has now run out of gas because it starts stopping and stuttering. Mm-hmm. Which, quick segue. Has that ever happened to you?
What, where I run out of gas?
Yeah, actually ran out of gas.
I've never been there.
Neither have I. Thank God. Never in my entire life. I always push it to the limit.
Yeah.
The limit.
I always refill right before the light comes on, the gas light. You know,
Okay.
I've been there when the gas light's on, and I have like a mini panic attack because I think I'm gonna be stranded in the middle of nowhere.
My attitude is, I know my car. I know my car. I know my car.
You know how
I know
much.
my car.
And I remember one time what were we getting? I think we were getting Taco Bell or something. I remember we were going for a drive, and your mom didn't fill up the car or something like that. So we're like on the way, and you're like, no, don't worry, I know, we'll be fine.
And guess what?
I was so nervous. I was like, we're walking home.
No.
But
I know, we were fine, weren't we? So
this happens to him, though.
Happens
correct?
to him. So then he has to get out, and because he's Arnold, he just pushes the car by himself up to a diner, where he goes into the diner to call home. And as this is happening, there's a neighborhood gathering of the reindeer for some reason, whatever, with Phil Hartman's character, and he's feeding everybody hot chocolate.
Oh, is that when all the women are like saying how amazing he is? Okay.
Mm-hmm. So all the women are together, and they're jerking. Not literally, they're figuratively
jerking something.
Jerking Phil Hartman off, his character, and singing his praises and all that stuff. And Jake Lloyd's character is like, oh, I wish my dad was more like that and everything. And he eventually goes back home, and he picks up the phone. It's Arnold, and he's like, please get your mother, please, get your mother, please. And he's ignoring him about the parade. And
Jake Lloyd only cares about this fucking doll. That's it. I'm
that's
sorry.
it.
That's all he cares about. This kid is a piece of shit, okay? This kid doesn't understand that his dad is busting his ass at work to pay for the heat in the house, for the cable bill. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm over here. I'm getting a little too into it.
I'm actually surprised, though, because if you take the doll of the equation at the beginning of the movie, he's still acting like a douchebag.
Who?
Arnold.
Yeah. No, I'm not
He's
saying
still not
Arnold's
being there for
free.
his kid.
I'm just saying Jake Lloyd's being a shithead.
Okay, so you're trying to distribute the blame. You're trying to spread the blame, huh?
Yeah, all over.
You socialist. That's crazy. So he ends up yelling at his son, who yells back at him and says that he never keeps any of his promises, and everything hangs up. Pisses off the wife.
Well, he yells at his kid, though, correct? On the phone?
Yeah, he yells at him. And so the kid yells back about he never keeps his promises, and he's horrible dad. And so then, defeated, he leaves the phone booth in the diner, and he sits down. Once again, he runs into Sinbad's character.
It's like a fucking piece of shit on your shoe that you can't fucking
It just, no matter how much you try to wipe it in the grass, it just doesn't go
Sinbad,
anywhere.
because Sinbad's one of those dudes who's just gonna fucking just ramble. Yeah. Like you're not necessarily talking to him. He's just talking, waiting for somebody to come. Very similar how I say like Twitter is, and almost Facebook statuses, where like you're literally talking to nobody directly, but like you almost look like a loner unless somebody comments or likes or engages with your post.
Well, it's actually you're waiting for someone to engage you to get that validation.
But that's literally how Sinbad is he's just talking, waiting for somebody to chime in. And of course, Arnold is there to give him loving arms.
So they have a discussion about, the toys and how they're stupid. And in Sinbad's opinion, if his dad would have got him the toys that he wanted as a kid, he'd be more successful. As opposed to the loser that he is now.
And we see Jake Lloyd in a mailman costume.
Yeah, there's a one joke where because going full stereotype, Sinbad's mailman character is drinking looked like whiskey out of a flask.
Yeah, I think it's
something.
whiskey. Yeah,
whiskey, whatever, something hard liquor, and he's putting it into the coffee and whatever, and he's drinking straight out of the bottle. And
Arnold cheers up with him. He takes.
Arnold has a moment where he envisions his son saying, "Here's to you, Dad." And he drinks the hard liquor, wearing the costume. And they have a heart-to-heart, and everything's cool for a little...
Wait, why do you think a postman... This is like, I'm saying like Arnold's logic. Why do you think a postman is like a scum of the earth when you're a mattress salesman? Like...
I don't think it has anything to do with him being a postal worker. It's literally the fact that the dude's just nuts.
He's just crazy in that.
I don't think it has anything to do with the fact that he's a mailman. I'm just saying that. No,
well,
remember
because he throws shots at being a mailman throughout it. Like that one part with the bomb or whatever, he was throwing shots about being a crazy mailman. I know. I'm just saying that like Sinbad uses being a mailman as a bad thing, and I don't understand why that is a bad thing.
I think. Well, okay. So I think is just he's being, if we want to get super deep and philosophical,
I don't
Mr.
tonight,
Aiden,
actually.
Nah, that's a lie.
I'm trying to get home so I can enjoy the Christmas season.
Wow, that's just what you just said. That means you want to get away from me even faster. That's crazy. Well,
yeah,
not
so
very
you can
Christmassy,
start.
you Grinch.
Well, I was gonna say, so you can stop spraying all that perfume because I know every time you got the toots, you're spraying the perfume and.
What are you smoking?
Something really good, but no, you know what I was saying, obviously.
What is that classic feeling when you have the tooth?
Classic
you just have
feeling.
to cover everything up.
When you're farting a lot and you just got to spray it up and,
where's your evidence of this?
In my nostrils. But anyways, go ahead.
That's crazy.
Go ahead.
You gotta remember that. If you want to get deep and philosophical, which I know you do because you do on your Italian horror garbage.
I do. There's a time and a place.
He is making this about himself, making these jokes about himself because he's insecure about being a mailman and being a loser.
Oh, I agree, 100%.
So he thinks some people are fine. There's nothing wrong with the profession of being a mailman. But if you want to be more and you're not, then that's when you're going to be pissed.
Yeah.
So,
but how does buying a toy for your son for Christmas, not buying a toy for your son for Christmas, how does that equate to becoming a mailman?
Well, he told a story about how the one kid from the neighborhood got the toys he wanted for Christmas, and he became a billionaire. And then he didn't get any of the toys he wanted for Christmas from a neglectful father.
This is the bad satirical part of this movie. Can you agree that's like the badly written part of the movie?
Well, no, I would say something else.
It's basically teaching kids that, if you don't get what you want, you're not going to be successful.
Well, if you listen to the way he tells the story, it sounds more like what he's saying is that his father neglected him and didn't get anything that he wanted, didn't care about him enough to get him anything, and so that's why he wasn't successful. He didn't have any support. I got that more out of it.
I get it.
I think that because that's kind of why Arnold's having his own epiphany about how he needs to be there more for his son. Mm-hmm. So it was less more about, if I just got my toys, I'd be more successful. It was more like the fact that in his story he's telling in this writing is that his father didn't care enough to get him anything for Christmas.
So it didn't encourage him
to actually be any better than he is.
I understand.
So that's a little different in my opinion, because think about it. If you didn't get anything from someone you thought cared about you, and that happened for year after year, it would probably
fuck me up. Yeah,
yes, after a while. Okay. So they're having this heart-to-heart, and radio comes on.
An old-fashioned radio.
Comes on. A classic, if you will.
Classic. It looks like it's from the 50s. I'm like, what the hell is this thing doing?
It pops on and mentions how they're having a contest to win a Turbo Man action figure if you can name all 8. It was 8 or 9. I think it's 8.
I don't remember.
I'm trying to remember how many reindeers Santa has. I think it's 8. All something 8 like of that. Santa's reindeer. So immediately that goes... There you go. Right back to games on. They start fighting. They try to race. Both of them try to race to the
radio station.
To the
telephone
booth. The phone booth.
For some reason, there's a phone booth inside this diner. I've never seen that before.
Well, think about it though. Think about Sorry. I'm trying to remember what. I got it now. It's 96. 96 payphone. I mean, you and I are from an age of where literally a payphone is an ancient relic.
But it's outdoors, though. I don't think it's actually in a restaurant, right?
No, that's the.
I think they really had, but that's like a booth. See,
it's a booth though. But think about it though. Most places have a phone anyways to get phone calls for like orders and stuff.
Yeah, but that's not for customer use.
Only way that people would be able to communicate was on a payphone. So I personally don't think it's a bit, because I'm pretty sure I've seen that before in movies.
I felt like it was forced, because then after this, the one dude at the counter says, hey, actually, because they tried to call, obviously. They tried to call. Arnold tries to call first, because Arnold would beat the shit out of Sinbad if he went, oh my God.
Again, this is why, okay, 2 things. One, I think how we could settle that is by asking one of our parents, because they would have been able to answer something like that. For that answer. 2, this is part of what I was saying about how they really played down Arnold, because he's not, while he is huge, they've downplayed that, because the fact is that, yes, it really would not be much of a fight at all.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And it actually isn't, because he's over there fighting Santas and stuff like that, no problem, but then he's having trouble with the mailman.
Trying to get him away from him, yeah.
For the plot. But so they run, they try to get to the phone, they end up ripping the phone out of the cord out of the wall. And
so now they can't call into the radio thing.
They're starting to strangle each other, and then the diner owner or the guy working there tells them that the radio station is literally just down the street. Mm-hmm. So they go running down the street. Arnold's in, of course, top physical condition, so he's jogging at a good pace, and Sinbad is slowly slugging along with all the mail, and
the mail trying to throw stuff at him.
He throws stuff at him to get lighter. That doesn't work, and eventually Arnold makes it to the radio station. He comes barging into the radio station of
Oh, you're talking about Martin Mull?
Yes,
correct.
right?
Yes, so he's in there. He's got this gross ponytail, and I
Yeah,
saw
it is kind of
they
nasty.
credited him in it. They just wrote the DJ, and then parentheses they wrote Mr. Ponytail Man. That's actually in the IMDb credits. I don't know if
Are
it's
you
in the
kidding me with
actual
this? Hold
it's
on.
in the actual film, but that is what it says online.
Yeah, so
Mr. Ponytail
Mr.
Man.
Mr. Ponytail Man. He comes running in there, literally breaks through the door and starts yelling the name of Santa's reindeer at him and thinking that he is finally won the Turbo Man. And he's followed in hot pursuit by Myron the postman. And they come in there and he's already saying, "Oh, I already won. And then he pulls out a package and says, "Not when I have this." And he said, "What is that?" He said, "This is a homemade explosive device." So he then tells them that he has a homemade bomb in one of his packages.
Mm-hmm.
And if they don't give him what he wants, he's going to blow up the whole place. Then that results in him finally throwing up the bomb, or the package in the air, only for it to land and make them realize that it's actually just a, God, I forgot what those things are called.
Like a
little
Christmas ornament or something?
No, it's one of those wind-up toys that has the music box.
Yeah,
it's a
it's
little,
like-
it's a
yeah,
little
music
Christmas
box,
music
yeah.
box, and that gets Arnold to try to strangle the life out of him. But finally, what's his name? Mr.
Martin
Pony?
Mull,
No,
yeah.
no, Mr. Ponytail
Mr.
Man.
Ponytail Man.
He stops him from fighting and gives him the revelation that actually he never had a Turbo Man in the studio. He had a coupon. If someone won, they had a coupon for it.
To win a free one.
And then they find out that during all this, he had called the police.
Yep.
So it's time for them to get going.
So they get out of there, and I know there's one shot of, I believe it's Arnold throwing Sinbad into a wall of like cassettes, or it might be the other way around. And what I was telling you in this film is that they love and I love comedic movies that do this, where they just break everything, like the toy parts too. Everyone's throwing around shit and breaking shit. That to me is like good comedy. Like it's just like, I mean, he walks in the door, doesn't he break the glass on the door?
No,
Arnold does?
no. When Arnold comes running in and he's like, he's trying to get security in there. He literally just breaks the door
Breaks the
wide
door.
open.
I like physical comedy. I think Arnold's really good at physical comedy. So
Because he's a physical kind of guy.
he is.
So they try to escape. They get caught by the cops. Once again, it's our same cop friend. They get both Arnold and Sinbad together, and Sinbad
Man's the
again.
only policeman in this town, I guess.
Well, yeah, he's got nothing else to do.
I guess so.
So
I guess Columbo didn't turn out for him too well. So he.
Oh, look at you making a joke about my earlier reference. I'm so proud of you.
I listen.
So Sinbad once again pulls out a package and says, "This is a package that has a bomb in it. You need to let him go." Arnold agrees that he's crazy, and for some reason, again, this is where it hits another part of the movie where it's, like I said, looking at it through my nostalgic kid eyes is like whatever, but really as I get older, it's like, yeah, it is pretty freaking stupid. This whole part here, it's really stupid. This is the cartoonish like comedy of where
It is.
So he convinces them it's a bomb. They run off, and Robert Conrad's cop picks it up unconvincingly. Thinks it's fine. Or sorry, unconvinced that it's actually a bomb.
He says he has years in the
bomb
squad. So
so he ends up opening it up, and the package explodes, leading to
right before he opens
it, it explodes.
You know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of like Roadrunner or something. Or
Yeah,
when they drop they drop like a bomb and then it turns Daffy Duck's thing all the way around. Do you ever see that where he turns his bill all the way around and it turns
It's Acme Looney Tunes. It's exactly what that is, because then the next shot, Tom and Jerry.
Yeah.
Same thing. It's the next shot is the bomb that exploded in comical fashion, where Robert Conrad is literally just covered in black soot. The building around him is a little bit destroyed, but that's it. No one's dead. No one's dying. There's no blood anywhere. It's completely comical.
Yep.
And they just make a joke about him being in the bomb squad.
There's a term that I love called comical filth. When you just they're putting the time to make him look.
The hair's messy and everything.
Yep, the face is messy.
Now again, this is where, like I said, where I think it loses people and why people actually really don't like this without the nostalgia glasses is because it's actually pretty freaking stupid, that whole scene, because the idea is you take away the comedy, or I said the cartoon. He literally used the bomb to get out of being arrested, and he killed all those cops with a bomb because they would all be dead. Yep. Like even if it was just like a crappy bomb with shrapnel, And he would have maimed them at least.
But this scene is for kids.
Yeah.
And I think a good family film can balance both. And I know that the parts with like Phil Hartman are obviously for the adults.
Yeah.
Because only the kids are going to pick up that. Some of the Sinbad joking is also for adults, like Rodney King references and all that other kind of stuff.
Yeah,
but
so
then this kind of stuff is for children.
Yes,
especially
definitely.
the parade at the end is for kids as well.
Yeah.
So
this is one of those where it's like I don't really understand where the humor. Like I get it was for kids, but it's like doesn't make any sense really. Because why would you? Because that takes it to another level. That's like I said, we're talking Looney Tunes. You watch Tom and Jerry, you get it. That's what you're gonna get when you watch Tom and Jerry.
it's a cartoon.
This doesn't make sense. Why it blows up and he's totally fine. And it's just literally just his hair being up in a crazy way.
Super goofy, yeah.
So it's it is what it is. You take it or leave it. It's one of those scenes you take it or leave it.
Mm-hmm.
That's over. Arnold goes back to his car to find that it's been robbed. It's completely stripped of everything, and so now he has to get it towed back. He gets it towed back, only to find that son of a bitch Phil Hartman is trying to put a star on my tree. On my tree.
For some reason.
It's Christmas Eve, and there's no star on the tree for some reason. Phil Hartman doing the creepy, wanting to get in on Mac on his wife. He's trying to put the star on. That turns into an argument, but Arnold's watching the entire time. So he decides that he's going to get back at them. He remembers what he said earlier about that toy being nestled safely under the tree. So he goes and breaks into Phil Hartman's house. Mm-hmm. Starts a fire by accident because the reindeer that he has escapes and tries to beat the shit out of Arnold. And so starts a fire, ends up destroying one of his decorations, kicks it out the window. And during all this, there have been carolers singing. So that led Phil Hartman and his Arnold's wife to be outside and listening to him. And finally getting attention of that Arnold's in his house. They all convene into Phil Hartman's house to see that Arnold is trying to steal Phil Hartman's Turbo Man that he got for his son. And so that starts
because he's holding it.
Yeah,
Put
he's
the
holding
damn thing down.
Oh, I was like, I always remember when I was young, I was like, just put it. All you had to do was just put the toy over back with the stuff. And then he could have just been like, I saw the fire in here. Yep. I just wanted to put it out. It's crazy. I tried to help. It just didn't work.
What he could have did? He could have threw the toy out the other side of the house when nobody was looking, right? And then burn a bunch of shit while you're in there and act like, oh no, the toy got burnt. And then you can give your kid the goddamn doll. And
I
then
feel
the movie
like
ends.
he really thought about that.
I could be a screenwriter. I could be the next.
I think you are.
I could be.
So that turns into, of course, a discussion about how Arnold's a scumbag and his wife's had it with him, and now she just wants to go and enjoy the parade without him. Mm-hmm. And so Phil Hartman thinks that this is finally his time, so he offers to drive her there. And so Arnold gets attacked by the reindeer again, leading to another great part of this movie where Arnold straight up just punches the reindeer right in the face with his fist and then knocks him out.
Yeah, and then
knocks him out. And then once he comes to, he starts feeding the reindeer Corona. I'm pretty sure.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought it was
Corona.
That whiskey that they were drinking. I thought
it was bottles. It was bottles, and it looked like piss. So I'm pretty sure. I'm not a big.
It's got to be Corona.
I don't know enough about alcohol, but I know what a Corona looks like.
Yeah.
So he's feeding him that or whatever. But during this, he has his epiphany. He sees a picture his son drew earlier of all of them, and he's like, I have to start keeping my promises. So finally, he decides he's going to go and chase after his family. And going to this parade, I guess, that happens in this. I never actually pinpoint where they are in this movie. All the years I've seen it, I don't know if they're in a place that snows.
Like I said,
but I have no idea where the hell they are.
On the badges on the cops on their shoulders, it says Twin Cities Police, and the Twin Cities is Minneapolis. So,
well, I'm gonna go off of that for you. So, they all head to the parade. You've got the kids with Phil Hartman and his wife, and you got Arnold going by himself. He's trying to get to the parade. And so the kids get out at the parade. This is your stereotypical.
You see it right here. Filming locations, Minnesota. St. Paul, Minnesota.
There you go.
There you go.
Nice job there.
You're welcome.
Kids get out of the car. It's an awesome. This is one again, nostalgia. Here we go. Another reason why I love this movie as I'm a kid is because I've always loved parades. Holiday themed parades. Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, one of my favorite memories every year, seeing that ever since I was a kid. I love sitting down and watching that whole thing. seeing all the floats of the characters. So that's it's a pretty good spread in this movie. So that's why another reason why it gets to me. You got all the the turtles
the
and
time capsule
Gumby
of all your favorite characters
from the '90s, and just it's quality stuff with the stuff they did. The money that went into all that.
Yeah.
So the kids are let out, leaving Phil Hartman and his wife in the car, and Arnold's ends up making it to the parade, running there and trying to find them. And Phil finally thinks that this is the time. This is the time he's been waiting for to finally get in on his wife, and he starts creepily trying to seduce her in the vehicle. Arnold catches a little bit of it. And
I love that shot. He's just walking towards them.
And he sees them. And then
that's great.
As Arnold catches him, then he just, of course, happens to run into Robert Conrad's cop again, this time knocking him down and spilling hot coffee all over him.
Yep.
He gets chased off. He gets chased off. And as this is happening, Phil Hartman goes in for the kill, which leads his wife to smack him right in the face with his bottle of eggnog.
Yes. Was it eggnog? Okay.
Right, eggnog right in his face.
And then he does the same thing, though. He does the same thing that the cop does earlier. Very comedic, like his glasses are messed up and there's eggnog.
See, that one works. For me, that one works because it was literally him. He gives her a cup of eggnog. It's in one of those thermos. Hold on.
Thermos?
Thermos. There we go.
Thermos.
Yes,
yeah.
Thermos.
Well, they're written like
thermos.
It's literally written like thermos. If it was thermos, it would be IS, but it's OS.
Thermos. She hits him in the face with that.
Yes.
And really, that would hurt a little bit, but it would be just like a hit. And so he comes back, and his face is messed up, it's covered in eggnog. That works for me. When he says, well, that didn't work out as well as I expected. Like, that makes more sense. The bomb thing is ridiculous. Like, that makes more sense.
But how does somebody throwing eggnog on your face completely turns your glasses around?
Well,
hitting.
If it's metal, a metal thermos, whack, you could easily just smack and warp your glasses. I mean, I've stepped on my glasses once, and I pick them up, and all of a sudden they're like
dangling. Yeah.
Like,
okay.
So that happens, and all this and all of his running around, Arnold accidentally runs into one of the warehouses where he is literally kidnapped and violated into the Turbo Man costume.
Which doesn't make any sense.
Would you like to explain how you felt about the situation?
I remember seeing this part as a kid, and it made me very uncomfortable, and I think you can agree with it. So they're like forcing him, when he walks into this warehouse, they're like forcing him to suit up and become Turbo Man and everything like that. It's very uncomfortable because the editing and the pacing and everything, you hear all these like weird sounds like all these like
I think the lighting too, as
the
you were saying it, the lighting makes it look a little creepy, and they're forcing him into it or whatever, and he's got
he's like fighting against his will while this creepy dude with this like weird long hair. He looks like the dude from Santa with Muscles, the one doctor.
Yeah,
doesn't he kind of look like him?
Okay, he got this stringy bob haircut and whatever. But
very similar.
He's explaining the suit to him as he's talking, so they're. The joke being is that obviously the guy who played Turbo Man had an accident, and Arnold was filling in because they think he's the dude who's the replacement actor, and he get the suit on him, and he runs into Booster, which again, here's another joke: the dude who plays Booster is just a swearing, grumpy son of a bitch who doesn't like kids and doesn't like doing his job.
He was in a lot of things. His name is Curtis Armstrong.
Okay, yeah.
The thing he's known for the most was Risky Business. I remember that. He's one of Tom Cruise's friends.
Revenge of the Nerds. I've seen him on a lot of different TV show spots.
They made a lot of those movies, Revenge of the Nerds. We might have to do some of those.
Probably.
There's some bad TV ones that we can do. God. Revenge of the Nerds 3, The Next Generation.
God.
And we all have to do that.
Next generation. Okay. So he gets in the float. It's finally revealed that he has been put into the Turbo Man costume, and he is being on display as Turbo Man for all to see at this parade.
Yep.
And he starts getting into the vibe of being Turbo Man, doing the poses and everything. And then they find out that they are actually going to be giving away a Turbo Man doll to the kid of his choosing, and he freaks out.
The weirdest thing I've ever seen. A kid of his choosing.
I mean, I'd be down with that. Are you kidding me?
You just pick a random kid, I guess, and can give him it? Okay.
Yeah.
What if the parent bought the doll for that kid for Christmas? Now you get two of them.
Yeah. I mean, who cares? I mean, honestly, would you say no? You'd be like, nah, I got my own. You'd be like, yeah, give that to me, bitch.
It's just weird to me. I don't know.
Well, so he, finally revels in the fact he's got one. He sees his son, of course. He picks out his son in the audience. He comes running up, And, he's about to reveal that he's his dad, because you definitely can't tell it's Arnold Schwarzenegger.
I guess you can.
A half helmet with clear glass as for his covering his face. But, hey, whatever.
The man's jawline could freaking kill. It could freaking cut diamonds, honestly.
And it's not even just, it's Arnold to us. You have to remember in the sense of the story, that's his father. In the movie, it's his father. You don't know your own father's face,
which
in
is
like a
so
half
confusing. Yeah,
whatever. But anyways, so he's about to reveal it's his dad, and we find out that Sinbad again. And this is again where, as a kid, I still enjoy it, and I still enjoy it now. But like this whole ending sequence is actually pretty ridiculous. Like it goes to this level for no reason. But anyways, so Sinbad is revealed to have taken over the bad guy's costume, and he jumps in instead because obviously what this was is some pre-planned. Power Rangers kind of exhibition like show of, them having the bad guys fighting Turbo Man in front of the kids and everything. But Sinbad takes over his clothes, comes in, and then it turns into him trying to steal the toy from the kid while Arnold's trying to protect him, and he's trying out his gadgets and they're doing all the different stuff, and Arnold gets attacked by the Mighty Morphin Power Ranger type putty guys who jump out in their colored skittled costumes, and Jake Lloyd runs away after kicking Sinbad in the balls. He runs away with the suit with the toy, which leads Sinbad to chase after him. Running down the street, no one's getting the idea that this is obviously not part of the show. Him chasing this kid. So everybody thinks it's part of the show. They're chasing after this kid. Arnold doesn't know what he's doing.
This part was annoying. I'm sorry. This part is so drawn out and so just like cat and mouse and shit. It's like Tom and Jerry at this point, honestly.
He's fighting the bad midgets, the rainbow midgets, and Sinbad's still chasing after the kid. And then it gets to the point where they're up on the top of a building, and Arnold starts to try to use his jetpack as Turbo Man. So the jetpack totally works, totally functioning. Literally, he can turn it on, and this is a sequence of him flying around, totally messing up, not knowing where he's going. Not horrible effects, really, for the time. It's not horrible, but again, doesn't make any sense that he has.
They really weren't bad. The shots of him going up in the air aren't bad, but the shots of him up in the air falling back down are kind of
but
bad.
Then it's like, what's the point? The fact that he actually has a jetpack and it works, and for whatever, he has a jetpack that works. He's flying around as this is happening.
Well, because they warned him when he was getting suited up that the last dude who played
got injured,
had brain damage or something like that.
So he's flying around trying to get the hang of it as the kid's trying to escape. Sinbad still is trying to get this toy, even though they've climbed up like a 10-story building. Now they've climbed up onto a giant Christmas tree decoration that has now snapped and is dangling off the side of a building. He's still trying to get the toy.
Yep.
They're dangling, ready to fall. And Arnold tries to save him. He loses control of the jetpack, gets down, tries to use his boomerang, his turbo rang, and he knocks Sinbad off the tree, who, of course, safely lands in the police float and is finally arrested. Then he saves his kid just in time as he falls.
Perfectly.
Finally, they have a nice moment. They finally sit back down, and his son is just so happy that he got to meet Turbo Man and get saved by Turbo Man. And he gets his toy back by the Robert Conrad cop. And finally, Arnold reveals in all of his glory that it's Arnold the whole time. And his son's like, Dad. And his wife's like, Howard.
And the audience is like, how the hell did you not know?
Everybody's freaking out. They're so happy. The kid gets his toy back and congratulates Arnold, not knowing that it's Arnold because he's got his back turned, about how great, having Turbo Man on the force be. Turns around and reveals that it's Arnold, and he freaks out, for another joke. Then here comes another of my favorite parts is Sinbad's being hauled away by the cops, and he's talking about what's this kid going to have on Christmas morning? He's not going to have anything. And then Jake Lloyd offers to give him the toy to give him to his kid. And you're like,
Jake Lloyd's not going to have anything either. Think
couple
about
things.
it.
This is one of my favorite parts. A couple things. I still love this movie. One, the kid wanted the toy more than anything.
Yes, that was his whole
That's
mission
one big thing. But my bigger one is the fact that Sinbad is going to straight to jail. It's not like some kind of, ooh, that was kind of funny, everything's fine. He literally just tried to murder a kid on TV, over a building, over a toy. So he's going to jail. So his son, whether he might get that toy or something, it can't even explain, but he's going to jail. And so his son's not going to have any father for Christmas. So, woo. Yeah, that's awesome. And that's just completely glossed over.
It just all completely lost. Yeah.
That's like whatever. And he said that I don't need a doll because I have the real Turbo Man at home. And so then that leads into
or how about I don't need a doll because giving is better than receiving or something like that. He's basically saying it doesn't matter. I still have a Turbo Man at home. Yeah. It's like your father has literally shown that he's a piece of shit consistently, and I guess.
Well, he said he's not going to neglect him anymore because no more. Remember, so they have a reconciliation. Lovely. Arnold gets carried away, and he gives one last final salute as Turbo Man
at the end. But then there's like the after scene.
Okay, so now how this would go if you had the actual theatrical version of it not being on, because we had the TBS with ads and stuff.
Yeah, with ads.
So they probably just edited it. So how it would have went was the movie ends with him being carried away and him saluting. It goes to black.
I do remember
then
that, yeah.
Mid or after credits, I don't remember because it's been a while.
Oh, okay.
Then had the after scene of where, so they're having the tree topping moment where he's putting the star on in the most Arnold way possible. He's like, yes, I'm putting the star up.
Yeah.
Yes, with his giant shit-eating grin, which I always love. He puts it on there, and his wife's like, oh, man, Howard, after all of this time, after all you went through for Jamie, got me thinking, what'd you get me?
And then he goes,
and he goes, zoom into his face and oh shit, now he just remembered he didn't get anything for his wife. You know why? Because he's a horrible husband.
He's a terrible husband, dude.
And father. And then cut.
And that's it.
It's it.
But we'll always love him because he's Arnold and we'll love him.
So now, your thoughts.
Your
thoughts. Prayers.
Okay. Watch this as a kid. Like I said, my history was I watched this as a kid. I had the VHS, as you did. You said it's probably somewhere in the basement, right? So I wore that fucking thing out. I watched that so many times. I remember all the ads and stuff before it, which is, we honestly should watch more VHSs for like the ads before them.
I have a bunch of VHS players.
Yeah, we could do that one day. But I remember really liking this as a kid. I thought it was fun. I thought it was just... There's parts in this film that cater to children, and now I watch it and I realize it can also cater to adults. That's what I think makes a good family film, is when it can cater to both. It's fun. Sinbad is great. Phil Hartman is the best thing I think the movie has to offer.
Yeah.
But I would say if I were to rate it, I would give it a 3 out of 4.
If I was to rate it, that's what you're supposed to do.
If I was, it's Christmas time. We can relax a little bit. But yeah, I would rate it a 3 out of 4. I would say it's definitely rewatchable. It's fun. It does what Santa with Muscles doesn't, where it takes a popular star that was popular in one genre and brings him into another, and I think it works pretty well for it. And rewatching that. Like I said at the beginning of this, I'm like, oh my God, this is going to be terrible. Because a lot of things you watch as a kid, you rewatch it, and you realize how fucking terrible and whatever it is. But now I rewatch this, and I'm like, damn, this was pretty fun. I really actually enjoyed this movie. It was really
how about
fun.
Things you didn't like?
Things I didn't like, I told you, the ending, the parade scene, I think is too drawn out. It almost feels like an episode of like an animated Batman series or something, that like it's all this like cat and mouse fighting at the end of it, and just it holds on too long. The part with the jetpack I think wasn't even needed. I think that was more like we were talking about for kids. That's more of a kids kind of thing. I think that's obnoxious, but I think the whole part of him trying to find this doll, and that from the beginning all the way until the parade, I think it's a great film. I think the parade really just didn't do anything for me, so probably that. Some of Sinbad's jokes are kind of cheesy and, as expected. Sinbad always gets a bad rep, but I think this was probably his best film. So I'd probably say, yeah, it's definitely worth rewatching, and 3 out of 4 for me. How about you?
For me, it would be about, I would say probably a 3.5 or 4. Now, we're talking about on our, bad of the bone.
Yeah, if it's bad, yeah.
We're talking about, so like, is it a good movie? Like, it's great, like a cinematic masterpiece? No, it's not like a 4 out of 4 that. It's a 4 out of 4 guilty pleasure, nostalgia-filled, just fun movie that from my childhood that I still love. I'm going to rate it on either 3.5 or 4 because it's rewatchable. I watch it all the time. Usually not when it's not the Christmas season, because
it's Christmas season.
It's always Christmas season. But usually I end up catching it 2 or 3 times during the Christmas season. I always enjoy it. Know the lines, as you can tell. I know a lot about it. Oh my God,
you said like almost every line in this film.
I know the lines, I know everything. and I just love the good feelings it gives me, man, of watching it with my parents, my folks, my dad, how much he loved it, and then like my other friends over the years that also got into the Turbo Man, Arnold, just getting caught up in the magic of all of that, and so that's why main reason why it always does me well. And then on top of that, I would say, though, of course, it's not without its sins. As I got older and I got a more bigger appreciation of cinema, I really do see why somebody who didn't have that nostalgic glasses, how they would look at this movie and kind of be like, this kind of movie sucks.
Yeah.
Because a lot of it doesn't make sense. And talking about, like, filmmaking, how it's doesn't really know what it wants to be. It has cool, like I said, it has a cool satirical, scenes with making fun of how people care more about stuff than people in the holiday season, the greed and everything. And then it also has crazy fight scenes with Santas, and then a whole parade sequence where it turns into a Mighty Morphin Power Rangers scene for really no reason. And so, and it's like I said, I have to, as I look through it as a kid, I still like all of it, even though most of it doesn't make sense as a movie now as I'm an adult. But
it sets out with an idea and it accomplishes it. Like, it doesn't take itself way too seriously. It's got a very basic premise of a father who's just trying to get a doll for Christmas for his son, and it sets out and it does that. And even though the message at the end, the theme at the end is really bullshit, I mean, I guess in a way it's nice where it's like he cares more about his father than a doll. Sure, but you can't show that when literally 99% of the movie is Jake Lloyd literally hating his father.
It's the execution, what you're saying.
Yeah.
It's the message is clean, but the message is cool, but it's execution of where like all of a sudden now he just doesn't care about it, and then or all of a sudden he's just like whatever. Everybody's just like whatever. On to the next.
But kids' films are usually shorter, and I feel like if this film was longer and showed more of a connection between him and his son, I think that wouldn't work as much. I think those kind of loopholes are like the limitations you make when you make a family film.
Oh, yeah, when you make a goofy one, you kind of just have to throw that stuff out the window, because that's why it just goes from one thing to the next, and why we go from a man trying to find a toy to, a man now wearing a jetpack. And
for some reason.
And having a costume pretending to be a superhero.
And threatening people with bombs and all this kind of stuff.
Right, so all that stuff.
It's goofy, but it's fun, so I would say go out and watch it if you haven't.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
100%.
If you quickly, before the holiday season is over, and even if the holiday season is over, you still have that window of time, in my opinion, where you could still catch a couple of Christmas movies and stuff.
Do it up. Go right ahead. But Scrooge, Merry Christmas to you.
Merry Christmas to you as well, Ginger Boy.
Arnold's back. And Merry Christmas to you, Arnold.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate it.
So I know you're going to chill here with him and have a stogie with him.
Yes, him and I are going to have a little stogie right now. It's my favorite thing in the whole world to do, next to your mother.
All right, I'm out of here. All right, I'm AC.
And I'm Arnold.
And
these are my biceps.
All right, I'll just leave it at that. See you later.
Yeah, so, when I met my first wife, Maria, I was always telling her about the coming. And the thing about the coming is the coming can happen anywhere. Sometimes I'm just in the gym and I'm getting the pump on, and I'm getting the pump on in my pants. And then once I get the pump on in my pants, then I have to go get the pump off my pants. So what I do is I go and I find the nearest girl and I take off her clothes and I just get the coming everywhere. Then I go back to the gym and I pump some more, and then I go back to the girl.